Good afternoon, everybody. I'll try to make sure I speak up loud. If I start to muffle, just let me know. Welcome to the quarterly Animal Control Advisory Board meeting, June 25th, 2024 at 3 o'clock. Go around now and say who's here. Julie Fryer, chairperson.
Nancy Anderson, board member.
Ethelyn Riley, board member.
Shannon Emery, board member.
Courtney Pierce, board member. Katrina Pearson, recording secretary.
Anita Hardnett Johnson, division manager.
Darrell Short, department director.
We'll go ahead and get going with the meeting, and we'll start with the approval of minutes. We do have 3 different sets of minutes to approve, so we can start, if everybody will find the minutes of the quarterly meeting from March 14th, 2024. Yeah, those will give everybody a few minutes to look over them if there's any questions, and then we'll move forward.
Who invited this guy?
He gets stuck in the chair.
Has everybody had enough time to look over them? Okay. Move forward with the approval. Does anybody make a motion?
I have a question.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Was an answer given about the dog with the rabies case? The question was asked where it went sent for testing and why it didn't have a tag. And you said that you would defer the question to research.
I believe Shannon Emery asked that question and I reached out to her directly.
Okay, well, that was my question.
Yeah, it was answered.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second that.
All right. There's a motion and a second. All right, we'll now look at the minutes from our subcommittee meeting. The first one was on April 16th, 2024 at 3 o'clock. Give everybody a couple minutes to look over those.
Is it just one page? No, I have that page. Is it just one page?
April the 16th. You got April the 16th?
She didn't do the back, apparently.
No, it's just one page.
Oh, it is just one
Yes.
page. Okay, I'm
Both
just
of-
making sure.
Yeah, it's just a subcommittee meeting.
Okay, just making sure.
And I'll go over that in
Okay.
detail whenever.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
that seems a little, that's part of what I'll do today is go over that.
Okay.
Do we have a motion, or does anybody have any questions?
No questions. I'll motion.
Motion.
Second. And then I need a hands of all those that are approving.
And lastly, we will look at the second subcommittee meeting on May 21st, 2024 at 3 o'clock. Give everybody a couple minutes to look over those, and they are front and back.
I'm gonna send that one. This was never done, correct? I didn't receive anything from the same section. Which community? Did you get an email or a message? Or is that just verbalage?
That was the first.
The first meeting.
Sections.
Oh, gotcha, okay, thank you. I don't think that's.
Read this one. All right, does anybody have time to look over those, or I don't want to rush anybody? All right, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
I second. Julie, I do need a show of hands for the
Oh, yes,
approval of the
I'm sorry.
first, this one, and the approval of the first one as well. All the approval.
First one.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Katrina. And then you said for the first.
The first one, just the
quarterly.
hands of approval.
Okay.
The first one?
Yeah,
Yes.
quarterly.
First one.
Yes, yes.
Next, we have the monthly reports, February 2024 to April 2024. We'll give everybody a few minutes to look over those three. If you have any questions?
Does the revenue go into our operating budget?
No, ma'am.
No? Where does it go?
It goes into the general fund.
Okay. And what is the general fund money used for?
Okay, so that's a loaded question, right?
Okay.
So all of your departments that are not under a specific funding source, like public safety
or, I think another one, Civic Center, other places of that nature.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
So the general fund is for all of those departments that don't fall under those specific umbrellas. So it's one particular pot that handles all the operating expenses for the entire city. So all revenues go into the operating fund, or to the general fund. At every year during budget, we have to submit a budget that is taken from that general fund to fund. Okay? So we get a certain amount of money every year based on what we requested and based on historical data of what we spent to fund us for every fiscal year. So all revenues from all of those departments that even generate a revenue, unless they're identified as an enterprise fund, goes back into the general fund for overall city operations. Okay?
So it becomes part of next year's budget?
No, it goes into the operating fund for the entire city.
For
It's
the
your
current
general
year?
fund. For the current year, yes.
Okay.
So then, that is what the city uses every year to determine how much money each location is awarded based on how much money is in that general fund. Does that make sense?
Is any, is any deliberation given to how much that division raised?
Absolutely, especially if you are classified as an enterprise fund, which means the revenue you bring in will pay for your operating expenses. For those that don't make that kind of revenue, like animal control, we depend on the general fund to pay or to provide us the funding that we need to operate every year. Does that make sense?
It does, except there is more money in the budget than just the general fund, right? I mean,
For
property taxes and things like
Oh,
that.
absolutely, but
Yeah.
those are all in other areas
Right.
that I don't have anything to do with,
Right,
thank
right.
God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have one. So we have 40 on the march.
Sorry, y'all. I think it's the unit back there is behind everybody. Like, we can hear better, but I think it's really muffled for them, so. I mean, I know it's gonna feel like we're yelling a little bit, but if we can.
All right.
We all need to use our teacher voices.
Yes.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, so on the March 15th numbers, we have 47 calls, answered 47 calls from 911. Do we know how many calls were made to 911 in reference to animal control type complaints or, animal issues? Or do we just know how many we answered? That may be a complicated question.
So to make sure I'm understanding, you want to know how many they receive
Like how
as
many?
opposed to how many we go out to?
Yes, how many 911 received? Like, how many did we send the police department out to versus animal control officers?
So that's two different things. So the 911 calls that are identified here are the calls that they take for us when we're not in the building, when we don't have our own dispatchers. And that generally happens after 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday and Sundays, they take those calls for us. Now, the other part of that question was how many calls do we get where CPD is out there already that they've called us? We identify those calls in our numbers of calls taken. So we don't separate them out, they're just part of our call base.
Okay, so those 911 calls that come in, say, like after 5 p.m. and when animal control is closed, do we have like an on-call officer that goes out to those or just CPD?
So Monday through Friday, we have, our officers are in the building from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. Okay. On the weekend, we do have an on-call officer that goes out to whatever calls are dispatched to them.
I know one time I had to call after hours, and I called 911 and had to explain to them the dispatch, kind of maybe it was a new operator or something, but then I had an officer call me back from, I guess, a work cell number.
Correct.
So it was like late one night, and they called me back, talked to me, and, handled whatever. Okay. So then, I mean, that was just my personal experience with it.
I don't think you're using your teacher voice.
No, she's not.
When I personally had to call 911, that's what happened. I talked to the operator. They dispatched. When we hung up, they must have dispatched whoever was on call. Then I got a call back from a cell phone. I guess the officer that was on call told them the situation, worked through whatever. So
Yeah.
that was just my personal experience.
Exactly. So what happens is when the office closes at 5 and our officers leave at 10, they contact 911 and say, hey, Kenita Johnson is on call for any calls after hours. And so technically Monday through Friday from 10 until 6 a.m. there's an on-call officer. From Saturday and through Sunday, there is an on-call officer that they reach out to. So 911 is giving that information. Okay.
Chairman Pryor, we're not trying to be disrespectful. Honestly, we cannot hear, and there are people at home that could not attend because they're on oxygen, they're cold, and they're saying that they cannot
So
even hear. It's
turn the
just
air off
difficult
is
to
on the
hear.
other, I mean,
Please do not turn the air off.
I mean, I'm just.
Do you have a microphone that you can pass around when somebody's speaking?
Please.
Because there's no way.
And Chairman Pryor, we're not trying to be disrespectful.
No, if you can't hear, you can't hear, I got it.
Thank you.
I think it would be helpful too if we reconfigured and nobody had their back to our invited public.
I'm fine with whatever, I just don't know.
We can
We're okay to
scoot,
move furniture.
we can scoot our chairs. We put 3
Okay,
here.
she's turned it on, so it should be.
Is that better?
Yes.
You keep in mind that the next meeting, if y'all want to, you should be able to schedule in the council.
In the chambers.
Right, everything should be done by then, and we will have a lot more control with the microphone, camera shots, and all that stuff.
Julie, you can come around.
Okay.
Yeah, it's being upgraded. That's the only reason why we're not there right now. All the equipment is. But if it gets too warm, just let me know, and I'll get it back again. I don't know. I think we're good now.
No, you're good. I think it was the air conditioning more than anything.
Well, I think also it's a matter of respect, of not turning your back to your audience.
Y'all could speak a little louder,
I'm gonna try.
really.
Yeah. I said, I think it's a matter of respect of not turning your back to your invited audience when there's a chair available. That's my thought.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure you tell our city council people that too, so next time when I go to speak, they don't play on their phone while I'm talking.
Or leave to get
Yeah.
a Coke, or,
Put
yeah,
that, just had to throw that out, sorry.
it works for everybody.
All right, we good to move on from the reports, Mr. Trainer? Is everybody?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take this time to go through and just kind of give everybody an update on our SOP subcommittee meetings that we've had. We've had 2 of them. First one was really, like, we got some work in. We were there several hours, right? I think it was pushing about 2.5 hours. We got some really good work in as of right now. So what we've done is and when I say we, I was going to bring something to the table to start the subcommittee off, and we didn't have any SOPs in writing. So I pulled the Save a Pet just because that's the only thing that I've ever known that we've had for operations. So it wasn't that we thought the Save a Pet were the SOPs, it was just we needed to bring something to the table to start looking at table of contents. We brought some different sample SOPs from some other shelters. So what we did with that, look, I have it all organized. There we go. So y'all have to look at my little chicken scratch notes, but what we did was that we started here, and we just started having a discussion about the things on here that just weren't relevant to where we are now, and we just were striking those off. There were certain ones we knew we could merge together to make one heading in a table of contents versus two separate ones. And it will take a minute to get through all of these, y'all. We are not focusing on field operations with these SOPs, and we are not focusing on, make sure I say this right, like personnel type. That's more related to the city, because I know y'all have like employee handbooks and stuff. So we've really tried, I know you brought the same ones that I had brought one time, the Baldwin County ones. They were really good because they stayed away from getting too much into personnel stuff, but they were really truly about operations. So we have to also remember the mission of the board and what we're here to do, that we're here to support CACC in the operations and to help with the pet ownership. So we're trying to make sure we stay on track with everything we need to do. So with that being said, I mean, we started from scratch, y'all. I mean, we're not recreating the wheel if we don't have to. But we also have to understand that we can't just copy and paste stuff because it looks good. Because then you're going to have, it's like being in the school system. A program can sound really good on paper, but if you don't have the stuff there to implement, then you're only going to get halfway of what you need. I'm sure it's the same way with the city. So, I mean, I know it might sound silly to some people, but we started, one of my sections I got assigned was literally the hours of operation page. And if you look at some of the SOPs from other places, it's not just hours of operations. It's some places have their open from say 10 to 5, but they can only adopt from, I'm just throwing something out, from 10 to 2, or they're only adoption hours. So we're really trying to simplify it and make it user-friendly. So if a citizen goes on, Ms. Michelle came, she's the
Deputy Director.
deputy. Thank you. Sorry. She was really, I love the perspective that she's brought to the SOP subcommittee, but really trying to make things have active links. So they will be on, once we do get through this process, it will be on the website where you can access it electronically, but then within that document, I'll give you, for instance, Ms. Johnson did one of the volunteer sections. So the volunteer section, we don't have to recreate a lot because we already do have a volunteer manual, even if it needs to be updated. But we're going to have a link within the SOP that goes straight to this. She's going to have a link to a short video on there. She'll have a link to the application on there. So we are trying to make things user-friendly, easy to navigate, and where everything will be accessed right there in that one spot. I don't know if I start, I can tell you the table of contents, the headings that we have right now. And this is all fluid, y'all. It's a rough draft. Nothing is set in stone, nothing. I mean, we will put it in there. We've got to start somewhere with something. But we have an introduction, an about CACC section, hours of operation, work with rescue groups. There was a resource page that I think might come out of the SOP now and go more like a tab on the website, because that was more of a citizen resource than an SOP. So this is kind of the stuff we're figuring out as we go through the meeting. We still need that. What are your steps before you come to surrender a dog? Did you try the PAWS program with the neighborhood pets? Did you get with, if SOS has a spay and neuter thing going on? These steps before you just bring your dog in to surrender. So we're trying to actually be proactive in giving people steps to what they can do before they come into your building. Volunteer program, the community cat TNR program, cleaning protocols, owner surrender process. We did have some frequently asked questions, but that will again be pulled out of this document and go to an updated on the website. Citizen stray hold program, euthanasia policy. There are more to be added on, y'all. There will be, intake we're not there yet. So please, when I tell you that, be patient with us. Because, I know I was up till 11 o'clock last night working on this again. And I want to. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I want to. That's why I'm here. But to do this and do it right, I'm not saying it's going to take 2 years. I'm not saying anything crazy like that. But we have to do this the right way and also work with CACC and understand where they are with staffing and that sort of thing. So that's where we were. We do have a Google Doc that'll go out to all the subcommittee members, and that way it is a working document where what we don't want to happen is that we're only working when we meet for the subcommittee.
Right.
Because as taxpayers, we have to we'll have a deputy there. Well, we can't sit there and meet at a table like this for 3, 4, 5 hours. So we're going to put things in place where we can be working on it without sitting face to face. Our third meeting will be a Zoom meeting, so we don't, we might not have as many time constraints, or let's say you have a meeting and you go and come, or Ms. Riley has an appointment, we can be a little bit more fluid with it. We're trying different things, though. The document's it's looking better than it was. And I appreciate everything. I appreciate everything you've sent me. I appreciate your willingness to do this, because I know it's a lot, and I know that, some of this is stuff that was inherited, and we're going to get it together now. And I appreciate that. So let me see if there's anything else I want to put on there. And other people in here were also at the meeting, so please feel free to share anything you had from the meeting. There's going to be some honest conversations, y'all, and I don't mind having uncomfortable conversations. I don't think I'm always right. I don't think the city's always right. I don't think the advocates are always right. I don't think the rescues are. I think we're all right sometimes and we're all wrong sometimes. But I know we have a lot of strong-willed, strong-minded people. And I think what frustrates me the most about it is I see what we could do together versus when we all dig our heels in. And I'm stubborn too, so please know that anything I'm saying, it's not being disrespectful. If it comes out that way, please, charge it to my head, not my heart. But I can be stubborn, I can fly off the handle, I can overreact. And if we really truly want the animals in this community to have a just overall better ownership, better experience at CACC, y'all, we got to stop some of it. We got to stop some of it. We don't all have to like each other. I'm sure I've done stuff that, I'm going to be honest, I know people don't like me, and that's okay, because some of it I earned. And I'll try to make it right, but we've got to stop some of it. It's too much, and I think even when there's good messages, they get lost in the other stuff. And I know it is a field of high emotions and frustration and everything else, but I truly believe that in my heart, that the only way that this is going to get better is if I'm not saying, lighten up, like don't keep pushing for change, but our delivery's got to improve. It has to.
Well, what about getting some of the advocates to help us with these SOPs and ordinances? They've got great ideas too.
And I'm not saying that that's not the case, but we do have an advisory board for me. And this is just me talking, y'all.
Right.
So just know I'm just giving you my opinion. We all volunteered to do this, and we have to have our advisory board working first.
Oh, yeah, I'm just talking about input of ideas.
Well, I think we all get input. I get input from, I read stuff too, and I, navigate through stuff, and that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
That is what will frustrate me the most. And I'm looking at you, I'm not being ugly when I say this, but there's stuff I will see on those pages that, I'm like, that's a great point. And then, some other things will happen, and I'm like, I really hate that point was just lost
Within the thing.
right there. That's all I'm saying. Just like I can be on sometimes, and other times I overreact, and, you know, my whole message I was trying to send gets lost. But I think we have to start with our core first, too. And I'm not saying, I mean, I went by Animal SOS today. I had to do some stuff with my work and take some stuff by. If I'm around Anna Claire, Becky, I pick their brain for stuff. If I stop by, you know, Courtney or whoever, I have no problem picking anybody's brain, but I think that's how we bring it back to the table.
Well, that's kind of what I meant.
Well, yeah, but I think that's how we kind of bring ideas back too. You know, we have some people that work,
Open spots too on the advisory
Yeah.
board for anybody that.
Right.
that's one of the things I got on here for
Julie.
update. Yes, ma'am.
The other thing too is, I mean, you and I have been on the board the same
You
amount
better
of
speak
time.
up, Ms. Shannon.
I apologize. Listen, I do not have a teacher voice. I apologize. I will give you my Boston though.
Boston will work.
So Julie and I have been on the board for the same amount of time. What I'm asking is, I understand when you say, you know, bring it back and make the advisory board good. But when we do bring up things and we do bring things to the table, and we've brought them many times to the table within the 4 years, do you not feel like we've just wasted 4 years of our life because nothing gets accomplished?
There's absolutely,
Thank
sometimes
you.
I feel that way.
Yes.
And absolutely, when I say that, I will own it. I'm also not gonna point a finger and say it's your fault.
No, I don't blame
I know
anybody.
you're
I'm
not
just
saying
saying,
that.
right.
Or Ms. Johnson's fault, or Ms. Katrina's fault, or anybody else's. I've really had to look at myself. I really have. I've had to look at myself and say, what, do I take this seriously? And that's where I think you have to have people that, I mean, Miss Becky kind of, you know, she kind of got on me a little bit. She's, you know, she said, I know you're on this board, but what are you doing? Like, it's work. It can't just be
Yeah.
we show up for these meetings.
Right.
And
Unprepared.
throw around some great ideas and, you know, even have opinions about whatever situations are happening. Like, we got to put in work on our own time. And then we got to be okay if I bring something great, a great idea, and you're willing to hear it, and then we talk a month later, I hate to take the wind out of your sails, but that just wasn't.
Well, that was my point. It
Yeah.
was almost like, and I don't mean to interrupt you, and I apologize
No.
for that. But the thing was here, you know, when we bring something to the table and it's discussed, and even if it's approved, we don't hear about it again. It just gets swept under the rug, and then the next meeting comes, something else gets brought up, and then that gets swept under the rug. Nothing ever gets implemented with what we bring forward. And I'm going back to Tricia, when I'm still waiting for frickin' rainbows on the walls. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the things that I mean. It's like nothing
No,
ever gets done.
And I can agree with you on
Okay.
that. I do think that having subcommittee meetings, and this is just my experience so far, I think those are the meetings where you get more work in versus these quarterly meetings, where we're kind of summarizing or looking at everything that's happened. And I will tell you something Ms. Johnson said at the last subcommittee meeting, and I had to really, I'm a person of reflection. Sometimes the first thing that comes out of my mouth is not the best, but I will try to go back and look at it later. And something that she said that really, truly resonated with me was, because it was the same thing. I was like, well, I got these ideas or this,
Right.
you know. And she said, not in an ugly way, but nobody's asked me what I need help with. I got, but, and then you've got to be okay with how it's received. So I will just say that after we had more of that conversation, some things have like gotten better for me personally. And I can't speak for everybody else. Sorry, I got a little frog. But I think we have to follow up on stuff. Something I had a great idea about that she was willing to help with was the, you know, doing the little beautification of the corner again that we had done before when Miss Katrina was there. That was something I really wanted to take on with my students. I'm sorry, y'all.
Where the sign is, you're talking about? The corner?
Over there, that little meet
By
and
the
greet
meet.
corner.
Oh, the meet and greet corner, okay.
The main doors. Okay, over there.
But that was something I really wanted to do in the spring. Came to Miss Johnson about it, spit out ideas. She was like, that's perfect. Guess what's been done in that corner? That's me. I mean, other things took precedent, other things took time in my life. But that's me not following through with something that I said I was gonna follow through with. Something that she did approve. And she hasn't said anything else to me about it. She's left it alone.
Is there a sprinkler system?
Is what?
To keep it watered, the plants.
Sprinkler system.
No, so what we did, it was nothing before. So what our students did,
No.
when this is way back when Ms. Katrina, what our students did before is it was just a dirt corner over there. And we came in and, raked everything out that could be raked out. We put down weed block, we put down pine straw, we put a couple shepherd's hooks in there. That was when Miss Sarah was there, but it was under the stipulation that that was our area to keep clean also. And we got the benches donated from the CTAE program at Shaw. Donated the concrete benches over there. But Ms. Johnson has asked me about the little poop stand, like what Paul's has out front. She's asked me about several of those because I offer. I haven't done that. So I think that's important too.
Absolutely.
Is just to own stuff that, and other stuff just kind of, but I think that's what happens sometimes is there's ideas, there's things, and then life happens and the priority list shifts.
It dies.
Yeah, right.
It dies.
So that's just kind of my take on some of that. And I mean, there's a lot of trust too, y'all. I mean, if somebody came in and said, can I help you in your classroom? And I said, sure, or was okay with it. And then stuff happened. I mean, I would get kind of like, I would put up a wall too. Some of the things that have been said, and I'm not trying to get anybody riled up here, but some of the stuff is just downright inappropriate, y'all. It is. And I'm not.
I'll be the first to admit that I have said a couple of things online. Absolutely 100% will own it. But nothing I have ever said has ever been directed to anybody in particular, has never named anybody, and has never once been disrespectful. It's always been factual.
I mean, I have said ugly stuff to people, and not just people at this table,
I
people
don't.
in this room, and I was dead wrong when I did it. And I apologize for it, and I hoped that we could move forward with it. But y'all, that's a lot to take, and I'm just gonna go ahead and it's the elephant in the room, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say it because it'll make me feel better. But if I saw some of the stuff that people said, and that was said about me, it would be really hard for me to even look at somebody without there being a serious problem.
See, that's where the tough skin comes in.
Well, yeah, but
Because you
tough
look at
skin is
things
one
and
thing, but
you
there's-
read it and you move forward, because there have been some ugly things written about us too.
Yeah.
You and I personally, that we've read and seen.
And tough skin's one thing.
Who cares? It's a personal opinion.
It's all about the animals.
Who cares?
Yeah, but it's
Absolutely.
not about the animals when you're on there, saying that somebody should go to hell or that they're, y'all, that, I mean, don't laugh that off because I've seen it. I've seen it, and these are things that I've seen, and I hate CACC, and, that's a little much. And I don't think anybody should have to put up with that in their job. I mean, tough skin's one thing, but there's got to be boundaries with stuff. There has to be. And I feel strongly about that. I wouldn't, I feel very strongly
Personal
about
attacks,
that.
nobody wants that. Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, I think there's a line that has to be drawn. I mean, I deal with some really terrible clients on a daily basis, and sometimes I can't even stop representing them, and I kind of have to jump through the hoops to do something about it. But I feel like there's a fine line on when it's just pure straight bullying that it's inappropriate, it's threatening, it's lewd, it's offensive. And then there's, someone just voicing an opinion that, you just kind of got to brush it off, and maybe it's constructive criticism
Absolutely.
or, something along those lines. There's a fine line that I don't think we're drawing. I think we're just kind of including all of it together, and that's not what we need to be doing. This isn't personal. This is about the animals. We are here for the animals. We are here because we have a job to get done. We need to brush it off, press forward, and get the job done.
Absolutely.
And I really do truly think, my kind of philosophy is if I'm trying something and it's not working the way I'm doing it, I'll at least try to make a new mistake and not keep making the same one. Like, I don't have any problem making new mistakes. So I guess what I'm kind of asking the public is maybe let's try to make a new mistake. I'm not saying lighten up. I'm not saying if there's something you are truly advocating for and you believe and it's for the care of the animals, I have no problem. Say what you need to say. But if we could really dial back some of the personal stuff, I think we would probably see that some healing would start happening and maybe things would be received a little better. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, Julie, just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it wasn't done. And I know, as a department director, I had to call in mental health professionals to assist our staff with just working, just doing what they're paid to do. And it was tough. It's hard on them. So just because you don't see it doesn't mean it wasn't done. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
All right, so just to, I guess, start finishing up some of the stuff with the SOPs. Our next meeting, we don't have the date yet. Ms. Katrina and I will solidify that at the end of this meeting. We'll make sure it gets put out to the public. The Google Doc will go out to the subcommittee members today. It's ready to send out so that everybody can be working on it at their own time and updating that. But Ms. Heather, I would encourage you, like if there's a section that you're doing to get input. Some of the best people I've learned from are here in this room.
And experienced. Very experienced with management of things.
Anything else y'all have with the SOPs? Is there anything else, Ms. Johnson, that you, Courtney, or?
If we've got the SOP, or the Google Docs ready, then.
Yeah, it's ready to go.
Then no, I don't have any.
I will say this in here, and I'll say it in the thing too. I would ask, because it is a working document and a rough draft, I will just ask that any of our subcommittee members, committee members that have, access to the Google Doc. I know you're gonna have people that say, how are the SOPs coming along? Because Ms. Toya Tucker, she said, I can't wait to hear another update, how y'all are moving along with stuff. Updates are good, but please let's be careful of not sharing the actual document, because if you take a picture of something and send it, and then it spreads like wildfire, and it's something that hasn't even been approved. It hasn't, it might be a section like the stuff I put in last night before I send it out. Ms. Johnson hadn't even seen that. Drew hasn't even seen that. So just because, I don't mean lowly little me put it in there, doesn't mean that's going to be part of the SOPs. And I just think that's how things can get misconstrued. I think it's absolutely fine, especially, for our advocates, our rescues, people that they will affect us to say, hey, we are moving along. We've gotten these, sections, working through them, or we're really struggling in this section, or whatever. That's transparency. And I think that's a good thing. But let's just remember that that is still a rough draft.
Right, work in progress.
Yes, ma'am. A whip. Sorry, y'all. Y'all got to reel me in sometimes. Citizens Corner questions. Are y'all good if we move on from the SOPs?
Yes.
Okay. Citizen Corner questions. I want to kind of back up a little bit. This was just something that, like I said, I tried to add a new little something to here before I asked if we could try to do this. We just would all come to the table. I just want to give a backstory. We would all maybe field questions, throughout the months. All the members would, from whoever. We'd sit here at this table. The chair would say, do you have any questions? And we would go down the line of asking these questions. And we wouldn't have communicated that. And what you would see is it would be the same question, or it would be something that could have been answered together. And when I say that let's not focus on specific questions, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just saying that because we're trying to stay in line with the mission of the board. It's for operations. So yes, a specific instance can deal with operations, but just let's turn it to that operating procedure that we want to talk about instead of that situation. That's the only thing I've asked. Other than that, you know, schedule an appointment. I don't know. We have gotten so bogged down in here before going through situations, and this has been in the past that we've done that.
So you're saying to keep it policy focused rather than incident
Because that's
focused.
what we're supposed to be
Right.
helping with operations.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to quiet anybody or not let anybody's voice be heard. That's not what I'm saying at all. But for the sake of time, for the sake of just better understanding, we have to think too, we're doing this for the citizens, y'all. I mean, most of us in this room have a better understanding than the average citizen does on something. But isn't that who well, the animals first, but we're trying to educate. We're trying to make stuff easier for the average citizen. So if we sit here and get bogged down on a specific instance on a dog, they don't know how that really applies to owner surrender policy. You know, if I'm sitting here and I'm watching this meeting and I just hear everybody talking about this one thing with this one dog, and I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to be able to surrender my dog or not surrender it, that didn't really help me, is all I'm saying. So, with that being said, some of the questions that I got. I went through, well, with a little help, went through and put them in a spreadsheet with headings. And I'm going to be honest, y'all, there's some that are just not appropriate questions to ask. They're just not. They don't have anything to do with operations. They don't have anything to do with, they don't. There's some that were really good. But I think what we will find, and I'm just going to read over like 1, 2, 3, there's 4 of them right here. Does CACC plan on implementing a process to spay and neuter the animals before they leave the facility with the new owners with the increased spay and neuter funding? Who follows up on vouchers? I mean, I don't know what, I don't know, that I didn't think was a bad question.
Excellent question.
Yeah, and I don't mean bad, y'all just watch my verbiage sometimes, but relevant. So, and that was one I thought was a pretty good question.
Absolutely. So, the council has approved the budget for this year to 2025. And one of the things that I requested for in that budget was an increase for spay neuter. Voucher system does not work.
Amen.
It's inefficient. And so what we were approved was $275,000 for the spay neuter, which will allow us to work with some of the veterinarians here in the city to get those animals that have become the property of CACC to have them spayed or neutered before they are adopted out. And the reason for the amount of money that was requested is so that we could pay the fee instead of just giving them a voucher for $50. So whatever their fees are, which are for the most part a reduced fee, they'll be able to perform that procedure and we'll be able to get those animals out without depending on the adopter to go forward and get that done with a $50 voucher, which most, and everybody knows it's not a secret, it wasn't accepted in most of the veterinarian offices. And so it was just something that would bring back to us and we'll give them that money towards that. So that is the reason for the increase. And we're hoping to see quite a substantial change in the number of animals that leave our facility being spayed or neutered.
When will that start? When will that budget go into effect?
July 1.
July 1, okay.
However, let me just say this. Let me put in this caveat. Though the budget has been approved, it is our finance director that finalizes. Does that make sense? So for what, I have not received anything from finance yet to say this is confirmed.
Okay.
Even though we all heard it, I have not received anything in writing. Until I see it in writing, I just sit back and wait. Okay, but nothing goes into effect until July 1. I will say that under normal circumstances, I would have had it by now, but our finance department is down to literally 2 people in the financial side. So they are past stressed on top of all the other things that are going on in the finance department. So as soon as I receive that, There's a lot more that was approved that I know of right now for animal control that I was really pleased at for so many reasons, but I have not received anything in writing yet. So when we get it in writing, we'll be glad to share it. I'm just a little
Does
bit
that go for the
skeptical.
additional staff as well? I know
That's
that's a
everything.
request too. Okay.
There was a question that, I know it technically probably would be answered in the ordinance, but I think maybe, okay, it says, what are the current policies in regards to backyard breeders and how are they enforced? I know the ordinance does answer some of that with, so if somebody knows of, so this is the way I'm trying to phrase it, if somebody knows of a situation where there's breeding going on without a proper kennel license, what would be the steps? If I knew of a place, how would I go about reporting that? Is that a report to CACC? Is that a report to Department of Ag? Is that
All of the above.
all of the above? But so the average citizen, say your neighbors, breed puppies all crazy and they don't have anything, you would start with CACC?
You can start with CACC. You can call 911 because that's a form of cruelty and abuse. So whichever way you go, if you call 911 and they send out an officer, what's going to happen, it comes back to us anyway. They're going to dispatch us out. And we'll do our investigations regarding that, and then it will proceed based off of what our findings are.
Could somebody just call the Department of Ag or file a report with them, or is that a little redundant?
Well, I would always tell them to start locally first, and I say that because, when you're talking about a backyard breeders, their purpose is to do what? Make money, right?
Right.
So you're looking for some form of evidence of an exchange of money or a sign in their yard that says these kind of puppies are for sale. You see it every year they put the sign up. That's a backyard breeder. We recognize that, right? But if you have a neighbor who's just having puppies, maybe it's that they just need help getting their dog fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And so Department of Ag is not going to do that, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's best to start locally, let somebody go in and investigate it first to make sure that it's not an educational issue or a financial issue for that person, that it is in fact a breeder, and then there are laws that animal control can enforce as it pertains to backyard breeders that they can operate off of because the evidence is there. And we're not out harassing folks who just need education.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, Courtney, I'm not trying to speak on anything, but I did, I was talking with somebody from Paul's today, and they did compliment that the ACOs, the current ACOs are doing, I guess, a much better job of whenever they go out to a call of calling Pets for Life or whatever to try to come in and help with resources and stuff, so.
Yeah, we do get a lot of
Thank you for,
referrals from the ACOs, and we're able to, for those that need the education or need some assistance. We can't be everywhere, and it's a very small team, so they help us identify those and then pass it on to us so that we can follow up with them.
One was, where can the citizens view the policy and procedures manual? I think we kind of answered that in our discussion, that will be, it's coming, guys. I mean, it's going to get there. But you can't view it anywhere yet. Anything anybody needs to add to that one?
Just that it does discourage me that it's been worked on since 2021.
And the subcommittee that had that before, and I was on the advisory board then. I couldn't be on that subcommittee. It only met during the day, and that was during the school year. I don't know other people's, but one, and I'm not, I don't even remember who was on that subcommittee, so I'm not meaning anything ugly, but I don't think that was a collaborative effort like what we are trying to do now. If my memory serves me correct, and I did try to open it, I just couldn't open the attachment yesterday. But if memory serves me correct, those SOPs did get into a lot of personnel, I think. If I'm wrong on that, I apologize.
It had a lot to do with the field operations.
Right, and
Yeah.
like we said, that's something that we've said that we're not going to focus on that. That's not our that's not within our scope. And then, again, I'm just going to reiterate, and this is what I truly, firmly believe, y'all, when we do these SOPs, there are going to be some sections that I'm going to tell you people aren't going to be happy on. They do have to be non-negotiables, that everybody's got there's going to be things that as a board, we come to Ms. Johnson and we say, look, this is what we really feel strongly about. We really feel like this is important. And y'all, the truth of it is, she's going to also come and say, that's great if I was fully staffed. And, we want to have that standard. But there's going to have to be give and take on some of this stuff. And that's why SOPs are a fluid document. Because you do make changes, you do update them as things change.
I do have to say that some of the staffing positions have been vacant for a very long time. You and I have talked about that. And that, I understand that there's a problem everywhere in this country with people wanting to work. You see it in restaurants, you see it in grocery stores, you see it in fast food places. But, I'm almost of the belief that whether somebody has vast experience in that area or not, if they get in there and give it their best shot, that's better than nothing. That's better than nobody being in that position. That's my thought on that.
And I think we got to fill vacant spots that we already have.
Right.
I have no problem saying that. Even if those spots were filled, we still need more.
Right, and
We do.
my
We still
point is
need more.
approving more staff. We do need more staff. Totally understaffed, even if we were fully staffed with what they've given us. But it's hard to make an argument that you need more staff when you don't fill what you've got.
Amen.
And you know what? I don't mind agreeing with that statement. It is.
I don't agree with that. And I'm going to tell you why I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
But y'all, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to
Stop,
cut
stop,
y'all throat,
stop.
but y'all, this is what we have to do. When we have a situation where we don't see eye to eye on it, we can't start that. We can't
That's right.
start the, all we said is that we saw, please y'all, stop. All we said was that we saw something one way.
And
And
all I
Drell
said
said, I don't see it that way.
No.
So really what that means is that we should all go, hey, let's get some different perspective on it.
Well, I was listening,
I was
absolutely.
getting
I
ready
know,
to get
but
some.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying though, if that's the perspective we get,
Common
we bring
courtesy.
our perspective to the table. Hopefully somewhere in the middle is the best option. But we might still get up from this table not agreeing. And y'all, that is okay. It is okay to agree to disagree. But it is very disheartening too I'm not an employee of the city. I'm up here on my own time. And I can see it. I can feel it. It is uncomfortable. I know why she turned her back. I would turn my back too. She was trying to talk earlier and people are making faces and talking and stuff. It's rude, y'all. It's rude. When Miss Adley gets up to speak, I'm not touching this phone. I'm not looking. I'm not talking to Drell. I'm not talking to Nancy. I'm going to look her dead in the eye, whether I agree with anything she's saying or not. And I'm going to respect her. Because she asked to be, as a citizen, on this public agenda to speak, and I'm going to try to get what I can out of it. Because maybe if I just put my ego aside, I might learn something from her.
Well, I would like to hear what Drell
I
is going
would
to tell
too.
us.
But we got to have everybody chill out a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I was going to say I didn't agree because there are several reasons why I don't agree.
Okay.
Number one, there are requirements that have to be met. These are not necessarily our requirements. It's what we need in order to make sure that we meet state requirements. Okay?
Okay.
So when you're talking about something as sensitive, and I'm going to use the term sensitive when it comes to animal care, I'm not just going to give somebody a best shot. They got to know what they're doing, right? If you went into an emergency room, you don't want somebody in there that's being given their best shot, right? You want someone who's been trained, who knows what they're doing, and is going to give you the best care. It's no different for an animal shelter. Secondly, I've had several people who were in the industry point blank say to me, I considered it, but I'm not going over there with all the stuff that's going on in the animal industry world in Columbus, Georgia right now. And that's disheartening, because a couple of those people have exactly what we need and were ready to come until they started going on to different sites and seeing what people were saying and how things were going down in our world. And I'm saying our world because it is our world. And they said, no, thank you. I don't need that. So to think that we're not doing our best to hire is hurtful, but I get it. You're looking from the outside in. And all of us know that it's different when you're on the inside working it, right? So that's my point. That's the only point I'm going to make. And we're still looking. We absolutely are still looking, because we deserve, our animals deserve the best. And I'm hopeful that with a veterinarian, that position, he'll have someone in mind that he knows or that he's worked with that would work well in that position, and bring him on with him, or her.
It does seem to me, the longer those spots stay vacant, the more overworked the current staff gets. I know that Dee and Elizabeth are at their rope's end.
And we recognize that. But what can we do?
Well,
we can't give people their best shot.
Let me interject on here too, because I want to say that I respect everyone's opinion. I really do. But I'm also in the middle of it all. And while we had our conversation, and I shared this with you, and I'm going to share it with everyone in here so they can understand my perspective. The positions we have open are based on a service model or a staffing model created over 20 years ago. So first of all, even if I staff according to what I'm allowed to have, I'm inadequately staffed. That's first and foremost. Okay? Secondly, right now, I only have 2 positions that are open. That's it. But for people to come and think that I'm purposely not hiring for whatever reasons is very unfair, given the fact that I come to work every single day and I watch my people and how they struggle. The fact that I had to go to my boss and ask for mental assistance because they are overwhelmed, not just with the work, because they actually enjoy what they do, but it's the people that they have to deal with, that they work with, that have so many criticisms that are unwarranted, that tears them apart. I am very well aware that I'm understaffed and inadequately staffed. My leadership team knows that. And so we go before the parties, the audience that we need to go before to explain our position. And it's not just starting with me. It started when Katrina was interim and Drell was there. This has been over 15, 20 years. And while it is that we're not moving at the pace that this community would like to see us move, there is a process. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. In my year and 3 months, we've had more progress moving towards where we want to be than we've had in I don't know how many years.
Ever.
So, with that being said, I understand your concerns. We have them. More importantly, we feel them more than anybody in here because we're physically doing the work. We appreciate all of our volunteers, but I'm going to tell you also it's very disheartening. Our volunteers get all kinds of praises, but no one ever says anything about my staff. Nobody.
I do.
No one has, collectively, no one has done that. And so I look for ways every single day to acknowledge them and thank them for what they do, because they don't have to. In fact, many have come to me and asked, why do they stay? It definitely isn't because the job pays well and the people here are great. They do it for the animals. And that's their focus. But I'm not going to put someone in a position to not only fail, but be discouraged in that fail, and I have to let them go because I gave them a shot. That would be very irresponsible of me and my leadership team.
So you don't think that somebody who's willing to learn
I
can
don't
fill that
have-
spot?
And the position she's referring to, in case you don't know, is the animal resource manager, the shelter manager. I can't afford for a person to come in and learn on the fly. It doesn't work that way. They have to have a foundation. And that's something that I'm not, nor my leadership team is going to waver on. No,
I'll
ma'am.
tell you the stuff I learned from Miss Sarah.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, that's, as far as in the shelter, I learned so much from her, just being in there, working with her, stuff that I had no idea about. And so I couldn't imagine somebody coming in not
Having that
having that information. But that's just me.
And let me also add a little bit more context. We knew Sarah Wash, who was the previous manager, supervisor, excuse me, we knew she was retiring. We were preparing for that. In that, she wasn't supposed to retire until March of this year. She retired early for her own personal reasons, which was September. We were preparing for 6 months of a transition to get someone that probably met with some qualifications that they could learn, or we could train them to do that. That was our preparation. But when she decided to leave earlier, we didn't have that luxury. And so, unfortunately, it put us in a situation as well. That's why the position has remained open. It's not that we don't want to fill it. I want to fill it. That's an area that I'm responsible for on a day-to-day basis. And so, for me to effectively do my job, I need somebody in that position.
Don't you think you've learned on the fly?
I also come with some medical background as well. So there are
Okay.
some things, not just that, but Katrina is there, so she had experience.
Right.
There is accumulation of things that has led to us being, I'm not going to say it most successful, but we are efficient for the most part. And we have people that were up under Sarah. So there are different factors, variables there. But even at that, it would be irresponsible of us to hire someone with nothing as far as foundation is concerned and expect them to do well. That's a setup for failure.
So is there anything that maybe, the board members can do to help maybe network, try to help find someone to apply for this position? I mean, I have a huge network of people that listen to a lot that I say, so I would love to help see if there's something I can get out there and say
Post a
like.
job description, absolutely.
Okay, well, if you'll email me some details about it, I can get it out there.
And just so you know, it's not that we've just stayed in this community of Columbus, Georgia.
No, we've gone.
I am part of an animal welfare professional group. So this application, or should I say this job description, has gone out throughout the state of Georgia and other organizations that are looking for people that we're looking for. And we, so it's out there. We're taking it down again and reposting it again. So hopefully with some modifications so that we can get some that are attracted to the position to apply and have a conversation. And as my director shared, there have been people, I've had several phone calls asking questions, inquiring about, and then the next thing they do is they do their research, just like we would when we're looking at a person for the job. And then I either don't hear from them again, or they call back and say, I've gone another direction.
Is that maybe something that, when we're doing an initial interview with these people, or when you're doing an initial interview with these people, you kind of just address it head on and be like, we're aware that this is out there. However, we're really looking for someone to help us combat the issues that we are facing, and maybe we address it that way?
It's a conversation.
Okay.
That is the very first conversation. Even when I interview for an officer to come in, the very first conversation, or the very first words that come out of my mouth is, these are some of the things that you will see in this role. These are some of the things you will experience. and this is how we address that, would that be a problem for you? So it is up in the face, first thing, before we even go with the interview, questions. Because a lot of times that will stop it all. No, I can't do this, and then the interview's over.
I just was sitting here kind of thinking too, and I'm just gonna, like I said, put my ego aside and ask for help on something. Miss Debbie, Miss Allie, I know whoever, I don't know everybody, but I know the allies have a big network. If there is, and I don't want you to ever, I'm not asking you to post something that you don't believe, but y'all also have a lot of know about different in staff and what they do. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in this room that knows Mr. Freddie that won't say he's an amazing person and he works his tail off. D, whoever, I mean, I don't know if that's something y'all would be interested in doing, but maybe just occasionally like highlighting a staff member if you see that somebody's complimented. I don't know. Maybe that would be something cool to do if
We actually have delivered shoes and treats to the staff and came and thanked them personally. We were told by Ms. Johnson that they don't need the shoes, but we thought that they were like garden shoes that got really high ratings, so we thought they might appreciate those. But we did do that.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then I know that there was one time I didn't even know it was an ACO, like Appreciation Week. I didn't even know that was a thing till I randomly saw it. And this was probably a year or two ago. Our students made little candy goodie bags, but I think we asked what were some things they needed in their truck, like hand sanitizer, whatever. If there's ever anything like that you would want to do, my students would be more than happy to help collaborate with y'all to put that together or whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to.
When is that?
I don't know. Somebody might know when ACO Appreciation Week. It was during the school year. It was during the school year. I know that because we delivered the stuff. But
We'll look it up.
I don't know if there's ever maybe a time that somebody, Dee's done something, or just maybe to highlight for the staff that is really struggling with the mental health stuff.
Maybe post it on the Commerce Animal Control Facebook page, that way we can take it from there and post it on our page.
I mean, I'm not going to speak on that, but I think that would be a nice thing if they highlighted somebody. Would y'all share it from your Facebook
I think
page?
that's a good idea, that they would give like a live video, introduce their staff and the director and, this staff member today. And then
So even if they highlighted a member and then sent it to y'all, then y'all would share
I
it?
could just take it off their page and share it to our friends in Columbus Animal Control, because
Yes,
we have
ma'am.
sponsored adoptions, we have sent refreshments out there.
Bought
And-
harnesses.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah, we bought harnesses, $800 worth of harnesses.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
So let me just make a comment on that. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. Specifically when it's for the animals, it's even better. When you start looking at employees, like you said, some kind of shoes. What kind of shoes?
Like garden.
Like
I'm
rubber
not sure.
shoes for when you're cleaning the kennels and
Okay,
stuff.
so please remember, and I would recommend that you call Kenita first and say, can your employees use these? And I'm going to tell you why. They are employees, which means they are under workers' comp. If they are working in a shoe that is not authorized, they will not be covered under workers' comp. So it's just a means of making sure the employee is taken care of. Not that we don't want garden shoes or whatever. I'm still not sure what that is, but I'm just saying, if you're wanting to do something for the employee that's related to footwear or anything that could injure, I just never know. I just ask that you please get with Kenita first, because the first thing she's going to do is say, hey, Drell, is this acceptable? And I'm going to say, girl, I've never heard that before. Let me send it to risk management, who handles our workers' comp, and get their approval. That's just to cover the employee. So if anything does happen, they're covered.
Thank you.
Now,
You understand what
just
I'm
as an aside, I would say we did not tell them to use the shoes at work. I mean, that's between them and you, how they use them. And so I would assume that you would advise them on what's appropriate.
Well, if it was
Workwear?
brought to them, they're thinking they can wear it. I mean, these are employees, so, and I'm not demeaning people by any means, but to protect the employee, if you're going to bring them something that they're going to have that they could possibly wear, I would just recommend that you get with the division manager just to make sure that there's no problem with it. Because we don't want to have to tell them, no, you can't wear that here, and you've given it to them. We don't want to put them in that position. And we don't want to put them in a position that they won't be cared for if something were to happen. That's all I'm saying.
I think she used garden shoes, but they're cloths. And they had, I think, animals printed on them, which their employees there do wear the cloths.
Okay.
That's what it was.
You mean like the, what do you call them?
Oh, not the Crocs.
The
Crocs.
Crocs.
Anyway, it's a shoe. So I would just have
They
it.
wear another replica of the shoe already out there, so that's why we got the practice supplies, which are used in other animal controls.
So,
And just the portrayal that we're out here saying nasty things about the staff, that's absolutely untrue, and that's just an anecdote that shows that we do understand, but we understand.
And
how
that
they're
wasn't,
done.
I didn't say that to you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Julie didn't say that to point out any one person. That's why I said, just because you didn't see it, doesn't mean it didn't happen. And I'm talking about you didn't see it on a page or whatever, doesn't mean it didn't happen, because it most certainly did. But I'm just saying, for our employee safety, and anybody that has employees, you understand workers' comp, it's just a matter of making sure that they're okay. Not that we're not going to accept it or that they can't accept it, just to make sure that they're covered, because it's a hard thing when an employee gets controverted for their medical claim. It's
Yeah, we totally understand.
Yeah,
that.
that's
We've been
not
nice to
cool.
just hear, instead of, no, they're already have those, we've been really nice to just hear. Thank you, I'll see if
Yeah.
it's approved for them to wear.
Absolutely.
so, just real quick, so for the employees, since, the shoes was not a good idea, would it be okay for them to maybe like donate lunch to all the employees or, things like that?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I think it was.
But it has to be for the entire staff.
Yep, for everybody.
Okay, so,
Okay.
because, like, we have vendors who want to just bring us
Random.
cookies and just bring it to the director's office, and I'm like, oh, no. Take that nice little sweet pack of cookies back, and you buy enough for all 400, or I don't accept them. And they just kind of look at me, and I'm like, it is what it is.
All 400.
I have 400 employees.
Well, for the
Public Works.
general.
But if you're buying them for animal control, so it's just going to animal control.
Oh, okay.
Nobody else sees it.
Okay.
Don't bring it to my office for animal control, because everybody else is going to see it.
I gotcha.
And then I have to say, no, take it back. But if you're just taking them to animal control, just buy it for everybody in animal control. Now, I'm not saying if they're not working that day, they have to be included in the count for lunch. No, don't include them. But for those that are there,
Sure.
then it's their decision whether or not they want to have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I don't know, So but yeah, they love that kind of stuff. So absolutely.
A question, actually, this was a question that I had. Do we have any update on the vacant animal control advisory board spots? I know we've got now a rescue spot open and the 2 vet spots. I did have the clerk's office call me about the vet spots, and that because the way the ordinance read, it has to be changed. But because it's an ordinance related to the advisory board, that's not one that we write. That's one that the city attorney's office is going to write.
Correct.
And then they have to have a council member sponsor the ordinance.
So basically, I'm going to have to write it, then I have to send it to the city attorney for vetting, and then I have to have a counselor to support it.
So we have those 3 spots, and part of it is, part of the reason why I was asking if we got any update or if there's is one with the SOPs. We're gonna get into some of that stuff that we're gonna really need. That vet.
Well, first of all, the Veterinarian Association is no longer.
I know, so that's.
Which is a challenge in and of itself. So that's the other reason why I'm excited that a veterinarian slot has been allocated for animal care control, because that will be one of the 2 that will serve on the board, is what I'm thinking right now. Not sure of that. I'm hopeful that the Veterinarian Association comes back together so that we can get those veterinarians on the board.
And the other one was just a rescue spot. So is that something that, would the rescues need to reach out to somebody who wants to nominate if somebody like, I'm just throwing something up because I know Ms. Sabine was on it. Let's say that, I don't know, just somebody from Rescue Z was interested in doing it. Do they just need to reach out to a council person and say, hey, I know there's a vacant spot. I would like to do this, and just get that council person to go ahead and try to push them through?
They can absolutely solicit, to be honest.
But that would be appropriate to do. Like, we don't have to, or not we, but the rescue person doesn't have to wait on the clerk's office to contact them or anything. I don't know how it was filled before.
Okay, so.
Because it was always,
Yeah,
the whole
so
time I've been on it was always
Just
this.
like you were nominated,
Yes,
same
ma'am.
thing for the rescue. No
Okay.
difference. They're nominated by a counselor. The counselor sends, or the clerk of council sends me the nomination, and we send back our, let's go.
Some of the other questions on here, I mean, honestly, there's some of these that they're not, I appreciate somebody said something about that, and I was going to I've got a little note to let Ms. Kanita know, because I was playing around on the website last night too, and I'll just shoot this to you in an email. But the contact tab on the thing, so when you click on the contact us tab, it actually duplicates and shoots you back to the about CACC tab.
Okay.
So the About CACC tab works, but when you go and click the contact one, that's the one
That loops.
it loops to.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Got it.
So that, I mean, whoever did, thank you, like, for
Absolutely.
catching that, because I would never click on the contact us tab, so I wouldn't know that. So for
Exactly.
whoever sent that to you that was, going through, that's,
That's awesome.
thank you.
Yeah. We need to know that.
Stuff, there were several questions about animal processing, y'all, but all of those will be answered in SOPs. Only other one that I knew that some citizens were looking for clarification on were let me see if I word it correctly, the days associated with, well, I know you don't like flying things.
No, I've got a community meeting at 5 o'clock.
But the
Get up out
days
of here.
that are associated with before dogs are available. So like if a stray comes in, 5 days, right? Before they're available. Owner surrenders immediately. So police holds, I thought 10 days, but I told them I need to check, but it's not always 10 days.
Well, it's 10 days if they're in jail.
Okay.
It says incarcerated.
If they're incarcerated, meaning they're behind locked door, they're in
Right.
jail, it's 10 days. Now, during that time of getting them, we're at the jail. We're trying to get them to surrender them
Right.
so that we can do what we need to do. If it is a investigative case that is open and they've told us to hold and we can't do anything with them, then we can't do anything with them until they release them.
I think that was some of the clarification, whoever I was talking to, because I think at one, they thought 10 days was,
Standard.
Standard, but then there was one that maybe went past that 10 days or something, so that was a clarification.
And often for an open investigation, they may tell us, yeah, you can't do anything with it for right now. But then in 3 or 4 days, they'll come and say, oh, we're done. Or sometimes we have to call and remind them, hey, don't forget, oh yeah, by the way, is what we get, so.
I have one more area I wanted to revisit that I've talked to Kanita with about this, and that is the dogs needing a second, if you'll pass that down, needing a second vaccination for parvo before they go out. So I did a little more research, and the consensus of opinion, including my own vet, is that if a dog is in a puppy stage, 9 months or younger, 12 months or younger, then one vaccination doesn't necessarily prevent them from getting parvo, because they might not have gotten what they needed from their mother. But an adult dog, a year old or older, one shot is sufficient to protect that dog from parvo. And so what I passed around, this is a statement from the Shelter Medicine and Community Animal Health, and they say, you should have that.
Yes, ma'am.
It is not recommended to delay placement outcomes such as adoption and transport to allow response to vaccination or to receive a booster. The safer alternative is to secure an outcome with the recommendation that new caretakers continue a veterinary-directed vaccination protocol that reflects the animal's new lifestyles. And the American Veterinary Medical Association said parvovirus has become a disease almost exclusively in puppies and adolescent dogs. And the reason I bring that up again is because I was looking at the board yesterday when I was in there, and there are 40 runs in the main building. And 9 of them are on hold, police hold. We can't do anything about that. But all other 31 dogs have received their first vaccination, the adult dogs. So that's 39 dogs, 31 dogs that could go off-site to an adoption event, as opposed to waiting another 2 weeks to get that second shot, which the consensus is for an adult dog makes no discernible difference. And by the time they've been there 2 weeks, a good many of them have contracted kennel cough. So I'm just trying to get more dogs out there to those off-site adoption events. And I also spoke with Dr. Holligan trying to clarify, what he had, because you shared with me that he had mentioned to you to wait for the second one, and he said what he was trying to explain was that very same thing, is that the second one is really necessary for a puppy or an adolescent dog. But for a grown dog, because they've made it through that puppy stage and that adolescent stage, one shot.
That is on the assumption that it's had a previous vaccine. So if you're looking at a 2-year-old dog that's never had a vaccine in its life, then you might as well treat it as if it was a puppy.
Well, it recommends you give it a second shot, but all of
correct.
all of this that I read said, like this Shelter Medicine and Community Animal Health said it's not recommended to delay placement.
Correct.
Waiting for a second shot.
Right.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't need it and they don't have to get it.
But
Because they can come into the shelter and adopt a dog.
Okay, yeah, that
They're allowed
was
to
my
come
next
into the
question.
shelter
They're
and
not
adopt a
holding
dog
it.
after one vaccination.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's my statement.
Thank you.
Maybe you could reconsider that. Because there are only 31 that could go, but there are only 6 that are double vaccinated with that rule that could go this weekend.
For the sake of time, there are a couple of other questions on here and stuff, and I will say too that Ms. Johnson sent me yesterday, I think, 3 pages of frequently asked questions that you come across that she's got answers for. I don't want to speak out. Would this be updated?
Right, so because of some of the questions, let me back up. Before the SOP committee was requested, there are several things that I'd already been preparing to put on our website. And what I did is I delayed putting them out there just to see, or just to give the opportunity to the SOP committee to provide their insights. And so one of those was the frequently asked questions, because there have been questions as to things that are on that particular list of things. I'm going to go ahead and start putting up those things that have been already prepared, reviewed by my leadership team on our website. So quite the number of questions that come to any of you as advisory board members, or that come to me in an email or whomever on a day-to-day basis, it will now be available, or will become available, on our website. So those will be placed up there tomorrow. Work with our web designer to make sure that that's put up there, so people will have that information available to them.
And then I appreciate and I don't know if this is something that will go on that resource tab or.
It will.
But there was a whole thing on biting dogs, what to do if your dog is attacked by another dog. What do you do if you see an attack happening? What are the next steps for animal to human bites? But these are great that can be added to the resource page. I think that will help out the average citizen when they have questions.
Yes.
Does anybody else have anything to bring before we let Miss Alley?
I need to say something.
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Johnson, I need to apologize to you because I have a community meeting at 5 o'clock, so I'm going to leave. If you would email me your statement so that I can know what it was that you said, if you don't mind. Okay, I appreciate it, and forgive me for having to leave.
And moving forward, if we need to put the public agenda first so that doesn't happen again, I'll make sure we make that correction again. So.
I was wondering why the meeting was moved. It's been on my calendar for the
Because,
20th for a long time.
Because the council chambers is going through an upgrade with its, all of its cameras and TVs and everything, so that we can be recorded properly as we have in the past. But until that's completed, even council has had to meet at the school district chambers to have their meetings because nothing can be done in the chambers right now.
And then also on the 20th of last Thursday, driver's training had a remedial class in here.
Okay.
And I spoke with you, me and Kanita did, and I told you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But I had to change a dental appointment. So that means it's going to be next year before I see the dentist. You know how it is to get in with the dentist, yeah.
We apologize. Not something that we intended to do, but Mike had to have new toys.
No, that's from Ally speaking now.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just gonna slide that way because I've been working outside all day, so I don't know if I've got any of that like 5th grade, recess smell. Thank you for doing this because I'm horrible at this.
Just one.
Well, and that's what do what you do.
Okay, Julie?
Yes, ma'am.
Just going to go ahead and start now, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, and thank you for letting me speak. The city established the Animal Control Advisory Board in 1984, setting forth in Chapter 5, Section 5.3 of the Columbus, Georgia Municipal Code, the board's mission as the Animal Control Advisory Board shall monitor the operation of Animal Services Division and render such guidance and assistance as is deemed appropriate in order to encourage responsible pet ownership. The City of Columbus, Georgia and Columbus Animal Care and Control are the legal owners of all impounded animals after the 5-day straight hold period has ended, as well as of owner surrenders. As such, they are the largest and most important, quote, pet owner in the City of Columbus and must exercise responsible pet ownership and set an example for other pet owners. Consulting the American Veterinary Medical Association and other resources, I would like to encourage and support you as the Animal Control Advisory Board in your mission to do that, to fulfill your mission. And as such, I would ask that you offer the following advice and guidance to CACC. 1, ensure that all animals are spayed or neutered before being adopted. I'm thrilled to hear about the increased city funding, but also concerned that there have been a couple of funding opportunities for spay and neuter that, to my understanding, have been ignored, and one of those is included in your packet, as mentioned by Animal SOS with their Hip to SNP program that they have provided funding for in the past. So as a taxpayer, I would just question, why would private opportunities not be taken advantage of before putting extra tax dollars toward that? And then the other one was that Kathy Bissell last summer called CACC during the Best Friends Conference, had asked to speak with Sarah. She was not available. And to my, I later spoke with Kathy Bissell, and my understanding is that no one ever connected with her. She was actually prepared to offer not only spay and neuter funding, but actually logistical assistance with getting those performed. And so I just think that's so important, and I'm hoping that we're going to see that change, and would encourage to revisit those opportunities for private funding as well. Number 2, to provide routine veterinary care with vaccinations given on intake as part of the SOPs. When the new software showed the vaccine administration status for a few days, it appeared to be quite a mess, and was wondering if you as a board could find a way to make sure that all vaccines are given on intake, with the understanding that if you don't have a vet right there that day, the rabies might have to be delayed, but there's no reason why all the other ones cannot be given on intake and accurately recorded. Implement heartworm testing with treatment for heartworm positive dogs funded by CACC as part of the budget and SOPs. Many municipal shelters do this. Number 4, deworm all animals on intake and provide flea and tick preventatives as part of CACC SOPs. Basic deworming could cost as little as a few $100s per year and takes a few seconds to administer, either in the food or squirting into the mouth. According to Charles Harper, DVM of Chatham County Animal Shelter in Savannah, who I called and spoke with and was nice enough to share his time to explain to me how this works and how much it costs them to do the basic deworming. Last summer, I was emailing with Tyson Begley, council member, trying to get this implemented, and he was actually provided a false information, which is all in your packet, the emails that I went back and forth. But he was given a number of intakes that's actually double the current number, and it was actually the number from, I think, 2010, and that was used as a reason for why deworming can't occur. And I just think that's the easiest, most low-hanging fruit you could possibly have. And there's just no, with a couple $100s a year and how fast and easy it is to do, that should not, we should have that done already. Provide humane care to the impounded animals. State law requires anyone impounding an animal in the state of Georgia to provide adequate veterinary care. That has not happened. There have been animals with broken bones, bullets. I mean, we've put that out there. Everybody knows about those cases. Provide a safe, sanitary, temperature-controlled environment. CACC temperatures have been sweltering lately with dogs panting, as I know you're all aware. They also have not followed certain protocols to prevent parvo. I have included in your packet the emails sent from Paws Humane last summer that detail the trucks and how management has stated they don't have the staff to clean and sanitize the truck compartments between animals. And I worry that that's a way that parvo may be spreading there, and if that could be addressed and included in the SOPs. And finally, provide enrichment and socialization to the dogs at CACC. Thank you.
Allie, I do want you to know that Kenita and I have talked about a quicker vaccination process.
Oh, great.
We've talked about the possibility of
Thank you.
the officer
Good to know.
inoculating, so we're going to explore that.
Is that in the state guidelines? All right, I'm gonna get those.
Ella, thank you for
Is that
your
it?
packet, and, I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that you pointed out is stuff that, I mean, I'm confident that we'll be able to address some of this in the SOPs. I mean, I really am. I do think when we get to that section, that'll be more the nitty-gritty, you know, where we'll have to sit down and really see to, like, what are the, when I say non-negotiables, you know what I'm saying, like, that.
What are the realistic expectations?
Right, thank you. The realistic expectations, and then what we might have to give somewhere else to make those things happen, because I do see the importance of this, but that might take away from some other area. I don't know. I'm just saying to be able to do those, but I think it is prioritizing what is, you know, number one for the animals, and then number two, what your staff is able to consistently implement. But I appreciate this packet, and I appreciate you talking. I think that was all very relevant, especially to what our subcommittee's doing right now and everything we've said in here, so thank you for
And
that.
if I could say one thing in response, is just
Yes,
that in
ma'am.
the PAWS emails, they stated, which I think is a wonderful point, prevention is always cheaper
Oh,
than
gosh, yeah.
the care when it comes to parvo or any other disease. So I think that's just something to take into account.
Thank you. Anybody? I know it's been a long meeting, and I will say that I do believe that true work happens sometimes when we take the, you know, when we are able to say the hard things and move forward. I do. I mean, I don't think we always have to play nice and pat everybody on the back and say everything's fine, everything's good. I think as long as we're respectful, we can bring these different issues to the table, see different perspectives on them, and I really hope that, I really do. I hope that is my one thing, is that when I do finish this board in October, that it wasn't for nothing, giving up time and that kind of stuff. And I hope that all of us just remember that what we're here for is the animals, including me, when I get in my feelings and I start, you know, losing my focus and stuff like that. So,
And are citizens able to file a complaint at this meeting? Like, there's a rule in the.
Yeah, that is one of the ordinances.
Are
I
we
think you
able
will need to be on the,
have that
and
happen?
I don't,
Sorry.
I've never had anybody do that, and I had spoken with Courtney, because that was brought to go back to when she was chair, and Sabine was chair. And I think, so don't, if I'm wrong, I will find out and be corrected. But I think it would be where you would be put on the agenda to file the formal complaint against the procedure or the personnel, I think. But I will check that and to see, because we've never had that done before. But will you just give me a second to check on that in the next like 24, 48 hours, and I'll get back with you?
So today, people won't have an opportunity to.
Well, no, what I mean is if it was something that you missed the window on today, I don't know. That is something I have to go through and look. But let's say that, yes, that was fine for you to do, then I could go ahead and accept whatever needs to be done. You wouldn't have to wait till the next meeting, is what I'm saying. I just want to make sure that I'm
Okay,
following
so
the
it can be
right.
filed after the meeting if you find out that that's.
Yes, ma'am. I will make sure that I update you. I just want to get clarification on, because anything that has to do with any like due process or anything, I just want to make sure that that is done the correct way.
Okay.
We have it in our
Yeah,
city
no, it's in the
ordinances.
ordinance, but it's still.
No, it says if it is particularly urgent and concerns allegations of wrongdoing or impropriety, it has to be brought immediately.
Right, so, but the problem with that is, yes.
I have a complaint filed.
Okay, well, that's what we're trying to figure out right now. So what I'm saying with that is, they have left a lot of subjectivity to what is considered.
Well, it says
So
immediately.
I went and asked a city councilman that is also an attorney,
Okay,
and I'm under the impression that it has to be brought at the meeting and not beforehand, because it needs to be on the record.
right, but there's also, you're right, there is one that says that it could be sent to the chairman at any time if it is considered immediate or urgent. So that would be outside the meeting time.
That's if it's urgent. But any
Right.
other complaints would be at just the regularly scheduled meetings.
I know, so we've never had anybody do this, is what I'm saying, is I don't know if they would have already needed to be on the public agenda to do that, to file the formal complaint.
That's not how I read it.
Well, I mean, but that's what I'm saying, we've never, so
mean,
would
Nancy's an
everybody just,
attorney.
I understand that, but would everybody just let me get with the clerk's office?
I don't think the clerk's office is going to know the answer.
Well, and I don't mean this ugly, but I think we got to be real careful because we have city council people that
Well,
are
I
also,
mean-
we have city council people that are also being a little bit inappropriate in this process. And I just want to make sure that we are doing this the right way. That's all. We've never had this done before. I mean, if you want to file the complaint now, that is absolutely fine.
So I think they should be able to reserve the right to send it to us at
Yeah,
least.
well, you-
And then if
absolutely. I
we
never
find
said you
out-
couldn't.
If we
That's-
find out, the guidelines quickly, then we should be able to
Didn't I
do what we need to do.
Didn't I just say you're more than welcome to go ahead? I will get back with you in 24 hours turnaround, and I will let you know once.
Well, it's not me, it's a couple other people.
Yes, ma'am?
Yeah.
I will, and I will make sure that
It's
we.
citizens that have a
Okay.
complaint.
I will make sure that we find the answer to that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty clear too.